after nothing but struggles, because, you know, we only do the lowest quality. We are here with episode, well, Dwayne's not here. He's getting a new leg put on. So, but we're here with episode number 35. We got Crashed It podcast and video with Jonathan Wood. He's out of Missouri. Does very, very many similar things to what we do. His brother is a promoter, and they ran in Blizzard Bash. Jonathan was there. It was good stuff. I will bring him on here and let him talk about that and some other stuff. Jonathan, can you hear me?
Yep. I appreciate you having me on here. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't get no feedback, because we know that only the lowest quality.
I think it's going to go good.
Yeah, see if I can even see anything from anybody. I know we got somebody on here. They probably just gave up on me because, you know. Oh, there's Dew. He says, "What's up, gangsta?" And then Kayla's on here. This must be on, I don't know if this is on YouTube. Anyway, it's on YouTube and it's on Facebook. Yeah, see, Dew's in the big comfy chair getting his leg tattooed. Are you guys on YouTube? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, I think they are.
They must be. Yeah, so this is all new to me. I'm not used to streaming more than one platform at a time, so it's a little bit new. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what you got going on over there at Crashed It.
So I started Crashed It, the YouTube page, because when I was looking back several years ago, me and my brothers started derbying and figure eighting, and there's not much videos that are quickly accessible to millions of people out there. You have to know someone with a cassette, or hopefully someone like a family member was up in the stands recording you on some kind of device that you could get a hold of. Because back then, you couldn't post this stuff to YouTube and stuff like that. You see a little bit of stuff that's been converted from like the VHS to now, but uh, really, it all started with my grandpa. You got to start with where the passion comes from. I wanted to let people experience, the life that I lived for several years and I still live today. And that was my favorite thing is motorsports. So I wanted people to be able to look back and show their kids like, hey, this is what I used to do when I was younger, and this is me driving this car or whatever. So Grandpa started a salvage yard when he was younger, like 1958 or 68, and he got into the demolition derby naturally, running tow trucks and the salvage yard. You come into a lot of old iron cars back then, and he was a legend around here. And I just loved hearing stories about how Grandpa and the uncles and dad would go out there and just terrorize things. And I wish, there was videos, the footage like there is today, because he would be all over YouTube.
Right.
I hear stories about the things he did in cars, and it just makes you cringe. Like, man, like one story is telling us he was real upset with the guy, and back then they had the old telephone poles around the track around here, so that was the arena. Like, there was no concrete walls or dirt mounds, and if you got pushed out of there, you could come back in. And they were at a racetrack somewhere, and someone pushed him out, so he went clear to the end of the straightaway and came all the way through,
Oh, Jesus.
just full bore, and literally ripped the car in half. That's
Well,
the kind of stuff, like, that would have been the money shot back then.
Well, they didn't even run
So,
cages in a lot of them cars back then, did they?
oh no, chain the doors, you got it, man. So, but
Yeah,
he kind of started it for the family, and then my brothers and I all, actually my dad promoted for several years, and we ran his shows. and people would call us cheaters and stuff. We did pretty well in his shows, and then he got out of it. He got out of promoting. So we ran local promoters for years, and uh, we did really well there too. And a lot of people just realize it's, there's a skill to figure eight and demolition derby. That's what we do in Central Missouri. So
I wish we could do figure eight up here. It always seems like there's a problem with insurance for us.
and it's really growing around Central Missouri and other states like the central United States. It's really getting big, and Michigan's they do pretty good up there too. Um,
Well, tell us a little bit about the rules. Like, what are the builds like for these figure eights?
so when I was running, they were stock pretty much. You just get like a 4 or 6 cylinder engine car, front wheel drive cars, and they had to be under a certain wheelbase. And now my brothers and I help them. I announce their shows. But my brothers Jacob and Joshua Wood started Lucky Sevens Promotions. I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago now. And the reason they started it is we were all raced. We all raced every show. And the biggest problem is it never really advanced much. From it kind of was a stagnant sport, like same stuff every year. Um, there's so much technology out there that could, improve. Like they had lap counters. They'd assign lap counters to each car, and there's a problem with that when you got a 16-year-old kid that's talking to his buddies and not watching the race going on. And around here, we take it serious. Like we have over 100 cars show up, and everybody's in heats and stuff. And if you don't win your heat, you have to go through a bunch of consolation races just to make it back into the feature. And you could tear up a lot of stuff trying to get there. So we all took it, if if they weren't counting their laps right, the promoter would just go with, "Hey, that's what my lap counter said, so that's where you got."
Right.
And through the years, we were like, "Man, we got to change this. There's got to be a way." So my brothers, they decided to start promoting shows, and their big thing is we're gonna advance this every year. We're gonna start with the drivers. We're gonna talk to the drivers, and we're gonna start with just making it the best we can for the drivers. And they've always said, we can start with we could start with what the crowd wants and stuff, but if the drivers aren't happy, they're not going to put on the shows for the people.
Right.
They're not going to show up. So they always say, we're a drivers first organization, and they actually got transponders now to help count the laps.
So how does that
And
work when somebody gets knocked out? Did you have red flags for just besides an emergency, or do you guys just run?
oh no, oh no, there's no red flags really. You got to be upside down. Or last year they added a rule because we kind of had some issues. If there's a bumper on the track, it's up to the officials' discretion. If it's dangerous, they'll stop the race for that. They don't want to tear up people's equipment or anyone to get hurt. So sometimes they'll hit someone so hard going through the center, it'll knock their bumper clear off, but it might roll all the way to the edge of the track where no one really goes. So they don't like stopping it. If
Well,
there's
see,
a fire, they'll stop it too.
we run what they call enduro here, but it's nothing like the rest of the enduros that run around the state. It's more like a bump and run. You're allowed to hit, not allowed to TF because it's not derby. Um, but they were never able to run transponders because we've had upwards of 106 cars on the track at a time. And what they were unable to do is if somebody overheated, broke down, and then the segment ended, or no, there was a red flag that dropped, which they only come out when somebody's in danger or fire, or whatever. Um, Something about they had to manually delete the names out, and if somebody came back in another segment, they had to re-add them because it's 100 laps.
Yeah.
So they just kind of left it alone, I guess.
And that's kind of similar to my younger brother Joshua. He's up in the booth with me usually where I'm announcing at, or he'll be trackside somewhere with his computer, and he don't have to manually delete, but like if someone stops right under the reader or something, he has to literally go in there and like stop their counting until they start again. So he's got people up there with him watching. Hey, you need to watch this car. They're right under the readers, and so um, and they're also there to spot. The figure eight. We always stress you have to go around both tires, and
Right.
every now and then someone might get turned around and they decide, you know what? I'm not going to waste trying to go back around that tire. There's too many cars coming at me. It's a survival thing, so they'll just go around the same tire and it might count them twice. But we've never had an issue missing that with that stuff. But I'm sorry, I got off subject. Back to how the cars are now.
Yeah.
Basically, envision what you'd look at like a mod compact demolition derby car. Like I wouldn't go as far as Blizzard Bash, but pretty close to that. That's how these guys are running. We've got a bunch of local guys that's been doing it a while. They call them dune buggy cars because they're running full on cages. I mean, we tell them driver safety is the most important thing to us. We
Right.
all have jobs to get to. We don't want anyone to get hurt, so they we let them build up the driver compartment really good, and um, they're allowed to plate the front ends up a certain amount, and they add bumper brackets and everything that you would see in a derby car, really. Um, and they have built bumpers, and we want them to run all year long. And we don't want them to be shy if there's that moment where they have to take someone. We don't want them to be shy about it, worried about their car breaking. So,
We have a guy here who's he listens to your podcast as well. He's out of Walhalla,
hey,
North
thanks,
Dakota.
Austin.
He's a good dude. He actually, I have to send some stuff their way here. And looks, is this your brother?
No. That's Joshua Craig. He's newer to the
Oh,
sport of figure eight, but he's one of our up and coming drivers. He runs I think it's like a Beretta or something like that, and he's been known to put it up on his top every now and then, trying to cut the tires too short. So
yeah. I should have known the last name wasn't the same. I think I just seen the J and was. It probably might not even be right,
yeah.
but your brother ran Blizzard Bash this year, right?
Yep. So Jacob, Joshua, they've ran Blizzard Bash every year except for 1 year since 2016. They run with Kurt Turpin, and then they always have a fill-in driver. It seems like um, they run on Team OMM, and I've always said, on my podcast, I always ask the drivers like, "What would your music be to come on the track?" And I always said, "Man, if I ever asked them that, they should say like, 'We will rock you,' because not only will they rock the drivers in their heat, they're gonna have that whole crowd rocking." And they're known to put on a show.
See, I didn't even know they were running. As soon as I heard the last name, I knew it was your brother. And then,
Yeah.
because I had bought it originally because the Elliots that came out during was it the full size is it stock that class? I don't. But they came out
They
against the
ran.
Hansons.
Oh yeah, they did good.
Those guys are pretty wild. I see them. I actually film them right here with they run a lot of full arena, and yeah, they put on quite the show. They don't have usually as many guys to get to go against, like because obviously you can't run teams. It's not a team show here, but getting to watch them run as a team was just wild. It was just haymaker after haymaker. I was like, holy Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, I love watching Blizzard Bash and any team derby really because it's kill or be killed when it's head to head. And I know I think you went out the Gold Rush this year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I thought that was so cool how they did the bracket at the for the national bracket that they had where they had head
Four
to
on
head
four all the way to
all
the
the way
top.
up. Oh my gosh. That was sweet. I wish I was there.
It was a lot more work, but the show the entire time from beginning to end. Besides when, dude, they broke to protest. in which case they should have just let the other team go. You know what I mean? But besides that, it was really good. I mean, even the feature, for first and second place there, they didn't. They knew that the car didn't need to be fixed after that, so they full sent it. It was good, and you didn't have anybody getting involved to try to knock out the better teams. These were the two best of the best that were there that day.
Yeah, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that show a lot. I watched it from my brother's garage. Uh, the first night I was at Jacob's house helping him on his Blizzard Bash car, and the second night I was at Joshua's house, and we were catching snippets of the show, and we'd stop working on the car every now and then just to watch. And um, man, that was an awesome show.
Yeah,
Great
I would
idea
like
by
to.
Sam Williams.
I'd like to go back out to Gold Rush. Being it was its first year, they had a hard time filling up. But I don't know if you've been paying attention to their page. They didn't have pre-registration out, but just a few days, and it was packed. And I think the last time I talked to Ultimate Dirt, God, I'm just drawing blanks right now. But they had a
Sam
hundred people,
Williams.
huh?
Sam Williams, Ultimate
Oh
Derby.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm just drawing a blank. But Sam was saying they had 100 people on the waiting list, and then they had one like team bracket part open, and I'm sure it's full by now. But going from struggling to fill the brackets to being completely booked out is amazing. It's going to be a really good show this year. Uh, I'd like to see your brother get down there and run. It's a little bit different than it is over there.
Yeah, I don't. That's a long trip, and I don't know. I don't speak for them, so I don't know what they're gonna do. They always surprise me. I found out Josh was running Carnage, so I'll be there at Carnage, and I plan to go anyway just to hang out with. I got a bunch of Mid Missouri people going, so that's the next stop on my to-do list is Capital City Carnage.
I'm rather jealous that you're close to all these big shows because the nearest show that I film is about, oh, I want to say an hour and 45 minutes, but most of them are average of like 2 to 3 hours away.
Oh, I know. I remember when you were on my podcast, we were talking, and your dedication is unwavering. These people, man, that's a long drive. You're
Well, we
talking
got
about
the
driving for hours, and I'm like, holy smokes.
yeah, we should do a podcast during it because believe me, we got plenty of time. We only talk about crazy stuff anyway, like Stargates and aliens, and then we get to the show and it's all business after that. But uh, Dewey keeps me from going crazy. If I was by myself in the car, these entire trips, like I think I'd lose my mind. But I think I was adding it up the other day. The last 3 years, we've done 130 events, which about 90 of those were demos. And then this year we got so far because we haven't finished the schedule yet, but it's I think we're sitting right around 17 right now, but it'll probably pop up over 20 here by the time we're done putting the schedule together.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, we do quite a bit with Lucky Sevens, my brothers, and I go to a couple local shows that that they don't put on because they're drivers too. They're drivers at heart. They gotta jump in the seat every now and then, and I'll go record them or whatever. And I think I go to about 24 shows a year almost, and it's people don't realize the toll it takes on just the media people just to get all that. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you talk about driver burnout, but I tell people, man, you got to be careful even on the like the media side. If you do too much, it's rough on you. So
Well, last
that's
year,
kudos to you, man.
last year I actually wore Dew out. Dwayne, he got sick because you don't eat very well when you're on the road, and he has a heart condition already, and pretty much ran him into the ground to the point that he had to just kind of take a break for like a month because he was getting sick. It wasn't good. I was pretty worried about him. But yeah, you don't eat, you don't sleep. I mean, there was times that we went to a show. I guess like I don't. You probably won't know the shows, but we have one in Motley, Minnesota, And we do that show, and then we literally jump in the car after that show is over, and we drive. We drove 6 hours to the next show in North Dakota. By the time we got there, we passed out at 5 o'clock in the morning. Woke up. Like Dewey woke up at 7. I woke up at 8. We got up, got set up, and then filmed the show, and then jumped back in the car and 6 hours home, and then went to work the next day for 12 hours, both of us, and that's pretty average.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that'd be rough. I like my time sleeping.
We've been trying real hard. I mean, we love everything about this, meeting the people. We've been trying to do a lot more. Like I do the spotlight videos and the try to do interviews as much as we can. But sometimes we're so tired that we can't even do the interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
Dewey, he rallied at the end of the season, and when he was sick, but he was doing better. He just needed a break, eat some real food, and get back at it.
so you talked about um dedication and stuff, and I gotta some people, they look at these big shows as, that's a lot of work and stuff, like Blizzard Bash, for instance. Uh, One thing I would challenge anyone that watches this podcast or that listens to this, go talk to them drivers. I've got a shot at, Trey and Rob Hewer. Uh, you might have heard of Caddy Nation.
Yep. Yeah, they were at Blizzard Bash, right?
Yes. Them guys are from Missouri, like central Missouri area. Um, but man, I was over there talking to them guys, and they're so down to earth. I mean, people are almost scared to approach them. It seems like, because of how well they're known around there. And I'm like, dude, these guys are the nicest people in the world. And I've got a man. They helped us a bunch, and my brothers run compacts, and they're running full size cars, and they were letting us use their plate thing. And Kelly, Rob's wife, she went over there and gave me some food off the grill. They had a big grill out there. I went over there to ask to use their plate thing, and they're handing me food and all kinds of stuff. And I was supposed to bring the plates right back over to put on so they could weld them on their cars, but I kind of got caught up in the conversation over there. So I was like, oh man, I bet I was over there for an hour trying to figure out, how to how to get these plates back over there so they could put them on the car because I was eating and having a good time with them. But man, there's so
Oop, we broke up there.
much dedication.
There you are. Lost you there for a second. So I'm pretty sure we did lose you. Um, Jonathan's back here, so all right. There, sorry. So I had to go start the Facebook. So apparently it did a test broadcast. At least I know better in the future, right? Yeah, that was the first time. I mean, I guess it's gonna happen every time, but I'll just move this whole video over. I'll chop it up so it gets that big gap out of there. But
I don't
sorry
know
about
where
that.
you lost me at, but
What's that?
I said I don't even know what you heard or where you lost me at, but
It was about, I'd say it was about a minute before the end of it there, or before it chopped out. These guys are talking about
I was
their
just
foot tattoos, so
yeah, we got some big things coming out this year. Um, and you were mentioning the bump and run, and that's kind of we do the same. We do a bump and run here, but we don't do a ton of laps. It's for our youth. our
Okay.
youth class. We do ages 10 to 15 years old, and we put them in a like a figure eight car or any 4 to 6 cylinder car. There's rules on the Lucky Seven site how to build them if anyone's interested that's listening to this. But I'm actually building one for my daughter right now, and man, she is gonna tear that thing up. Um,
How old is she?
we took it for a test. Oh, she's 9 right now, but she's turning 10 in 3 days, so she's excited. First year to be able to do this. She's watched her cousin do it, and she wants to try it. And as a parent, I just can't wait because even if she doesn't like racing or whatever,
Right.
um, I know she's gonna love it. But as a parent, I look at it as they're gonna get the best driving experience that they could ever get at this age in this day and age that I can give them. Um, See, my brothers and I, we all had a leg up when we were younger. We would muster up the courage and go ask Grandpa, "Hey, can we tear this car up?" Pretty much, we asked him if we could drive it, but we were asking him basically if we could destroy this car out in the field. And all of us boys and our cousins and everything, we would all go down there and have derbies and circle races and all kinds of stuff in the salvage yard. And we tore up a
It
lot of cars.
it was a different time back then too. Dewey has said to me 100 times. Like when I ran Derby, he goes, it was nothing like this. He goes, it was throw some chains on it and away you went. And he goes, the first time I went out to a show, he goes, I couldn't believe the builds. He goes, I swear to God, it was all the stuff we tried to get away with cheating with. Now it's all legal.
Yeah, there's at least the guys around here, actually across the whole United States, man, these these drivers these days and builders, they are very knowledgeable. There's a lot of geometry that goes into their builds and stuff that people don't even think about, like certain angles of how their car is going to sit on a certain type of track surface. And the shots that they want to take and the shots they don't want to take. They know what can hurt their car and what can make it just run all day long. And you talk to them people and they'll say like, "Hey man, if I get a if I get a shot in this corner, it's gonna ruin this frame rail. But if I'm squared up, I can go 45 mile an hour and hit someone, and this thing's gonna be good to go." So
It's crazy to me because we just had a discussion with somebody about this the other during one of our interviews, the garage interviews, and we're talking about the plates and adding more plates or removing more plates, whatever it is, and it's like you can make the front end stronger. He goes, but it's just going to bend somewhere else. So now you have to figure out how to rebuild the whole entire car if you're going to move your plates. And these are things I don't think of because somebody built me a car to run for my first time. Believe me, it was the only way I would have made it past the break. So
yeah, these around here, they're just uh, we've always said we got the best group of drivers because these guys show up to all these shows and they all know each other and they come to put on a show. And everyone gets out and shakes hands after the show, and um, man, it's just crazy the excitement I have going into every year. It just gets bigger and bigger every year, and you never know what new thing Lucky Sevens is going to do around here, and or just in the derby scene as a whole. Um, I feel like there's major promoters in every region,
yeah.
and I feel like a lot of the local guys are stepping up and you know to improve as a whole each and every day. So
So
I'm
one
excited.
one big thing I really noticed, and it's talking with you about what like Lucky Sevens is doing for the area down there. Now, being a media guy, the biggest thing that stood out to me was you guys having all these fair boards upgrade their lights for safety reasons, and for
Yes.
video reasons for us, that's amazing. And I love to see it. I mean, I don't know how your guys' promotion works with other promotions, but I know like I'm starting to see a lot more promoters starting to work side by side because they obviously know there's that respect there where you don't want to come into that bubble of theirs and push into their stuff. But if somebody's just tired of a place, they'll be like, just take it, or I don't want to know more. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when there's a bit of drama here and there at some of these places because there are promoters that don't care about those respect, so to say.
In Missouri, they're still working on that. I mean, my brothers agreed to sit down with three other pretty good promoters, and it never got to that. Um, so it's a work in progress. I think around the whole United States, and eventually, I think it will happen where there's going to be, I'm not going to say a unified set of rules, but they're going to be close enough to where, hey, you can go to this show. 2 weeks from now, you can come run our show. You might have to tweak a few things, but you can make it work if you have anything left. And I think once promoters start to see the benefits of that, um, there's a lot of people in the sport that are saying this is what needs to happen, but not a lot of people doing it yet. And
Right.
I think eventually it'll get to the point where it's going to happen just because it's the evolution. There's an evolution of this sport, is what I call it. Every 5 years, you see it, the builds go too far, and then they ring them back in,
Mm-hmm. You're seeing
or
that MWFA right
uh,
now.
yeah. So the MWFA is the one class that is a unified set of rules, and you're seeing promoters that are stepping up and doing it and actually following the rules, to a T, uh, and inspecting it like that and teching it. Man, we had our first WFA show at Richland, Missouri last year, and it was a huge success. I think we had 20 some odd cars show up, which was what we were hoping for, at least 20. And a lot of people don't know about the MWFA is the envelope system. Do you know about the envelope system?
So you just have, like, even if you win, you don't always get the top prize.
So the winner gets like a set amount, like $500. But in the NWFA rules, it's everyone you put entry fees like into separate envelopes. You just put random amounts. It could be $25, it could be 200, it could be 500, depending on how many cars are there or whatever. And you go out there, you put on a show. These are stock cars, so you're running cars that you normally don't see because you can build. There's no like limit to what you can run as long as it's in that rule set. You can run all kinds of stuff. There's V8s out there with 4 cylinders. I mean, it's crazy. We had SUVs, we had Ford Ranger pickups out there, just stuff that was so rusted that you're like, oh, you gonna try this? Oh yeah, man, I'm gonna try my best out here. I've had this thing sitting in my field for years, and now I know exactly what I'm gonna do with it. And them guys, they went out there. We had one guy, I made a reel of it. Him and his buddy, they were just on the podcast 2 weeks ago. They were talking about it. Uh, they hit someone so hard in reverse, their seat bar, they had it welded across, it broke. And
Oh,
so they were
Jesus.
laying in the trunk of their car because the guy didn't stop. He just kept going. And he's crazy. And I didn't know it at the time, but he had a running bet with this guy riding with him. He said he's going to make him get out. He got out. So,
What's crazy is
but that,
those MWFA cars now, they don't have any metal in them, so they're light. And if you got a good set of tires on them, they really move. So I've seen and now I know minivans. I don't know how they do down there, but up here the minivans win like most of the time, unless they get taken out, front shot on the wheels or whatever. But the a car that I seen win or not win, but he did. I want to say this was my cousin was driving a Taurus, right? And I've seen Tauruses out in demos around here because we got a lot of backwoods derbies around this area too, and they don't usually do too good. They're usually rotted through and they hit, and then next thing you know, the wheels are touching between the front and the back. But he had a pretty good one out there, and he was wide open, and he hit. Uh, I guess on the video it would have been Wadena, and he just comes straight into the corner, hits a van, and the thing looks like it's moving 100 miles an hour, and usually on video nothing looks like it's moving that fast. But he ended up taking a minivan into Ice Crush, which comes out tomorrow, and he said you were waiting to watch that, and
Oh, I am. I
he
love
ended up
that
winning
show.
that with a minivan. That was pretty good.
Well, you just ruined it.
But the compacts, I tell you what, the compacts are wide open the whole time. The big cars are pretty good. Tegan actually was in here watching. I don't know if he's still in here, but he was running. He ended up getting. I'm not going to wreck it for you. You're going to have to watch it. But
Dude, I can't wait. But yeah,
the
I love it, and that's something that's another reason I started the Crash did is because I wanted people from other areas to be able to tune in to shows that they wouldn't be able to go to, um, and to see what's going on. You can watch a show in a different part of the United States or whatever, or the world, and just you see how things are done differently, and you
yeah.
might pick up on one thing that could make your show better, or just one thing that person's recording that you like, and you can go, oh, I need to try to do more of that instead of. Um, I was really bad about zooming in too much when I first
I did
started
too. The
recording.
drivers actually chewed my ass for it. So
Um, but it's always about growing as well. We want to better the media just like the promoters want to better the show. It's all to better the sport. So that's why I did it.
now I don't know if you're having it happen there, but like here, I'm starting to see the longer we're doing this, the more people are wanting to come follow us from show to show. So we end up seeing them across multiple promoters, and it's can be anywhere from 3 to show. About 10 have wanted that to know what my schedule is because they want to come to the show, so they're on film. And well, like Josh Stock here, we were just talking about promoters working together. Josh Stock runs Full Arena Promotions. He's the one that puts on Ice Crush. And I see him on the wall at all these different shows. Now, I'd bring up his comment, but on Facebook, for some reason, because of whatever glitched, it won't let me bring anything up from Facebook. But he said, teamwork, build together, learn from the experience, and make it better. And he goes on the wall. He sees these other shows, like, and the kind of the way I look at it is different shows, and it was best explained to me, but each show is a different caliber. So, I mean, if you had 5 tiers, Gold Rush and Blizzard Bash being the top tier, and your redneck, no tech, whatever, bottom tier, and you're seeing these different promoters in different brackets of, so to say, derby work together in order to build each other and help each other, and it's absolutely amazing. Like, we've gotten to be a big part of that, working alongside these guys and watching it, whether we see them at rules meetings, which they don't tend to have a whole lot, which I don't blame them, because once you open that can of worms, everybody's mad about something. But what they keep doing with their moving forward is to kind of have the unified rules, not so much unified, but enough where you don't have to cut your whole front end apart in order to make the next show.
So those rules meetings, are they having drivers that come, to the meetings as well? Is that like an open meeting for the drivers to all put it out there to the
Yeah.
promoters, or is it just the promoters?
So the promoters tell him what they're wanting to change. They want their input, and then they decide if they want to change it. At least a couple promoters around here tend to do that. But the biggest thing that they end up coming back to is, this guy likes cradles, that guy don't like cradles. This guy wants more fix-it plates, that guy don't want fix-it plates, and so you end up in a big battle back and forth about what's more important. And in the end, it doesn't really matter, because whatever the promoter puts out, it's more important for that promoter to talk to other promoters and work together than it is for so to say, I want to say drivers and promoter, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you have to make all them hard calls, whether it be breaking somebody's stick for sandbagging, or breaking their stick for team driving, or when you come into tech, if you're going to make all these rules, you better know how to tech them. And there's a lot of shows around here that I've seen that have actually done that, where they didn't know what they were doing. Like, they don't know how to tech their own rules, and then all these cheated cars get in, and the people that built to the rules, because they don't push the limit on this stuff, they get just destroyed. Well, they don't want to come back after that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you gotta if you're promoting a derby, you have to surround yourself with a really good crew, and um, each person should specialize in whatever they're look like. As far as tech goes, you should have someone that knows the ins and outs and every car they're going to see. And that's something my brothers have did really well. They brought on Tommy Stark, who's a guy. We're related to him, but he's been on every stage there is, national level, local level derbies, and he can look at a frame and say, there's supposed to be a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. And if there's not a hole here where there's supposed to be, you're going to have to fix it or load it. They don't ever load anyone, but they give them the options. And there are people that don't like the options, so they
Right.
end up loading it. But
I've
yeah, we've
seen.
had that problem here where you go to a show and they say, "Here's your stick," and that was another reason they kind of started promoting as well. So
Well, that's Full Arena. That's how he started. He used to run all the time. He was in fact in the documentary of Blizzard Bash when Sam ran it. Um, like, he'd been demoing for quite some time. I think he's been doing it since 2016. And what started it was they went to a show. It was ran like crap. It was terrible. It was almost hard for him to watch. And his wife said, "Well, either you do something about it or shut your mouth." Well, now they're promoting. So
yeah, promoting is I see it from another angle than what most people do, and I can tell you guys that hats off to any promoter because there's so much hoops and stuff that you don't even think about. Like right now, they are going to all these fair board meetings and talking to these fair boards, telling them exactly what they want. You mentioned lighting for safety. They talk about the venue, like how can you improve your venue to improve our shows? You want a good show, improve your venue. You want these and they promote out to the drivers. They ask them every time, like, how we doing? What can we do better? We want to make it the best that we can. And you'll hear them. Like, I talk to all the drivers that they all talk to the drivers, and um, they try to get everybody on the best page they can. But you mentioned earlier about, one car wants a cradle and one car doesn't. We had a similar issue with our figure eight guys, and they decided on the fair shows to make it a stock class and our mod class, like our guys that run every week or whatever. And I'll tell you, I help inspect the figure eight cars because I've did it for years and I know kind of what they're doing. And these guys that are coming in here at stock cars for the fair shows, so they could we did it so they could all, have kind of separate a little bit. But them guys at the stock cars were like, "Oh heck no, we want the big money. We're going in the full mod class."
with
And
the stock
you're
cars.
almost scared for them guys. Oh yeah.
Oh
And they'll
Jesus.
get out there and them guys, they're there to impress their friends or whatever in the stands or put on a show for all the fans at the local fair. And them guys will full on T-bone a fully built car
Oh
and
Jesus.
junk their car. I mean, destroy their car. And they're just having the time of their life, man. And them guys that run our shows every week, they're like, holy crap. We tell them, like, it's a new aspect to the race. them guys are gonna be there. They're gonna put on a show. Just don't
It's
be the one that gets drilled.
I've never got to. I mean, I've watched your figure eight videos, and I've never got to see one in person. I know Iowa runs them south of here, but I've never seen. I've never been to a big one. Like your guys look like you have a ton of cars out there, and like you would go back over and do the commentary of like the biggest hits or the highlights or whatever. I always loved watching those. By the way, that was awesome. That's how we met. Was when you
Yeah.
reached out for to do highlight clips. Are you still doing that? Or are you too
I've
busy?
been asked so much. Like so many people's been asking me like, come on, man, do like once a month top 10 hits. So uh, I actually am gonna start that, but there's gonna be some guidelines to this because I kind of got myself in a pickle doing that. The person that takes the videos is gonna be the one that has to send me the clip. I'm not gonna get it off of someone's TikTok page or someone's YouTube.
Why
They're
they
gonna
get
have
mad?
to send it to me. Uh, huh?
Did somebody get mad or they try to copyright strike you?
Well, so the person that made the hit sent me the clip. I used
Oh,
their clip, but the person that actually recorded the video did not like that I put their video on there, even though I put it from their page, like I mentioned their page on verbally and visually, like audio and visually on the highlight reel, and they did not like that. So they copyright struck that video, so I took it down. Um, and I had to
they didn't
send
even give you
YouTube
7 days to work with it. Like they just straight struck it.
yep, they did. They struck it down, and I had to send YouTube a bunch of stuff because they were like gonna red flag me or whatever.
You get three of
Where
them
I
in
couldn't.
3 months, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't want any.
Right?
But I think we're gonna start that again. Just once a month, and it's gonna be just the drivers themselves are gonna have to send it, or the person that takes the video is gonna have to send it. The drivers can mention them and tag me in it, and I can message them like, "Hey, this would definitely qualify to be an awesome hit on the video."
Well, this video
Um,
isn't going to go down because we ain't cussing like sailors. So, if anybody from any show that I'm filming sends you clips, you go ahead and use them. I'm okay with that. It just gets them out there. So that I loved all that. Like this is it's all about the experience. So
yeah, and I loved hearing about last year. I was like, when I reached out about Ice Crush, Tegan were, I was like, dude, that guy made an awesome hit, and he's like, you're like, dude, that's a kid. I was like, what? And then it was Blizzard Bash Tegan, and I I got a message from his mom right after you told me that. She messaged me, and man, she told me all about him, and I was just pumped. That was so awesome.
she
And
she passed away last year, and she was a huge part of everything like around us. Uh, really was awesome with everybody. She was kind of like a derby mom, and that's awesome that she reached out to you and told you the story. Like it's quite the story. I mean, Tegan went through hell and back and survived. And in fact, he was on here on Facebook. He said we appreciate you guys filming these shows to watch over and over. But I'm just thankful these guys go out and put these shows on. Like it's just amazing.
and I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what you talked about, like breaking someone's stick for sandbagging. My brothers, they straight up tell everybody, look, you built the car, you're gonna drive it. We're not gonna tell you how to drive the car.
Right.
And I tell you what, they you tell drivers that, they'll take care of the sandbaggers. We They'll take care of them.
That's why I
I
like the
actually
spray
had a
paint on the
guy come
cars.
from Colorado. He came from Colorado all the way to Missouri, and he said, "I'm only here for one thing, and I just want to make the freaking reel." I want to make it on your reel. And I said, well, you got to go out there and smoke somebody. I said, you got to send it. And he goes, oh, you just keep an eye on this car. I'm going to send it. And he did. He made the reel.
That's awesome.
But
I've been
I
trying
told
to
him,
entice these guys, but after you see like the compact cluster and Ice Crush tomorrow, you'll see it's hard to really pull out who had the biggest hits in that show. These compacts are starting to get wild. I mean, all the way across the board. The big cars, it seems like the arenas are shrinking, and the big cars are having a hard time getting speed. But the compacts don't. I mean, you get like a 30-foot run, you're doing 100 miles an hour. It seems like, you know.
yeah, that has to do with the tuned computers, the fuel injection. There you can tune it. You can tune your computer and build your motors. Like these guys are getting crazy amounts of torque and power just out of their little engines. And the cars are lighter, so you put that down, you're flying.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's like I got to drive a compact for the first time, and we were on a clay clay oval track. So you can imagine they threw down a little bit too much water. Now you got it's ice. You're pretty much just driving on glare ice, and those things still picked up speed and wind. Like I couldn't believe how fast they were. Thankfully, by the time they got to later classes, it was kind of dried out. But I think I'm going to try again in compacts again this year. I took third, not because I built a nice car. I drove somebody else's nice car, but this year I'm going to attempt to build my own. So we'll see how long it lasts out there. I'll probably get off the line, get hit in the front tire, and be done. And that's okay. I know I'm not a great derby driver. It's only be my second time, so I wouldn't even be mad. I just excited to get out and shake hands afterwards. Like, yeah, I was out here with you guys. That's awesome. No.
so last year, was that your first time in a
Yeah,
derby
yeah.
car? So how did you feel coming on the track? Were your nerves? Were you in
No.
butterflies, or how did you feel?
So I've been in quite a few different types of racing. It's not quite the same, but like we do that enduro here, and I've been in situations where I was airborne looking at the sky, uh, at like 45, 50 miles an hour. So getting on the track wasn't what scared me. I mean, I seen the names that I was rolling out there with, and every single one of them were good. Um, so I just figured right away I was just going to get smoked and I'd be done. I think they were just nice to me because it was my first time. They didn't want to scare me away, but that I do their video. They knew they weren't going to make the hit reel again. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I wasn't. I was more nervous that my video stuff wasn't going to, because I was putting somebody else behind the camera. I was, trying to get all my video equipment up, the live running, and everything else. I was so nervous that something was going to mess up, and it just happened to be when I'm going out on the track that I was kind of freaking out a little bit. And they're like, "Oh, just calm down. You don't be so nervous. You're just going to go on the track." Well, it wasn't about that. Rolling out on the track, I think the biggest thing that scared me was I got out there and the car wasn't running very good. So it was either wide open or it wasn't running at all. Like it would just die out, and then you'd have to fucking start it back up. See, yeah, look at that. I almost sailored that one. But got out on the track, pulled up to the official, and it died. I'm like, oh God. Well, I couldn't figure out how to start this thing. I'd never really even messed with it. And then Josh, who built it, he comes running out there and to tell me how to start. Slips, falls right in the mud. Gets over there, helps me get it started up. I get it almost to the wall, and I'm probably like, I'd say 7, 8 feet away from the wall, and it dies again. Well, I'm close enough, So they throw the flag. The car gets started up. I just held her the rug because on that slippery clay, you don't have to worry really about blowing your tranny out because everything's so slippery unless you're trying to go, drive to reverse. And so I just kicked her down, dropped her in reverse, and away we went. And they could have dominated me up against the wall a couple times when I was stalled out, and they chose to hit somebody else, thank God. But yeah, I wasn't nervous the whole time. I had blinders on. I didn't know. I mean, somebody could have hit me from the side. I probably wouldn't even have seen them. All I knew is if there was somebody in front of me, I just held her down and away we went. And unfortunately, there was one guy in front of me all the time because I'd circle around, and there he was. And then we hit head on, flush, and then the one time we didn't, everything got bent to crap, bent both cradles. But at the end, one guy knocked himself out by the belts weren't tight, bounced his chin off the steering wheel, and got knocked out while I shut my car off because it wasn't hot, and turned the fuel pump off. Well, when we were getting ready to go, I started the car back up. Forgot to turn the fuel pump on. Ran it out of fuel in the line. Well, I killed it trying to get the fuel back up there. And I was just done. I ended up taking third. I still had pretty straight front end. I mean, for where I was at in the Derby, and still had both of my tires turning. Whereas the other two cars only had one tire turning each, so it was a bummer, but it was exciting. I now understand why doing video is so important. Because the other races I've ever done, you kind of could tell what was going on around you. You didn't have the blinders on. In a Derby, I had the blinders on. I have to watch the Derby to understand that I hit a lot more than I thought I did. And it was a lot rougher than it looked.
And this year I started, I bought some GoPros. That was going to be my next big thing, is I want to give someone the experience, just of being in the car without being in the car. Like, if you're a kid, how's this look? I got a bunch of kids that follow my YouTube channel, and I'm like, man, these kids, I want them in there, but I want them to kind of see what the drivers are seeing. And both in the figure eight and derbies, we're gonna have them in the bump and run cars. If I can get someone to put a camera in their car, they're gonna, we're gonna have it in there eventually. I couldn't buy 100 cameras, but
I'm working.
we'll figure
We
it
only
out.
run one, and we just run one a class if we can. I burn through mounts like crazy, so I'm gonna have to make some homemade ones here pretty soon that just drill and mount quick. But I'm working on trying to run a live camera from the car to my stream deck, right? So it's not that hard, besides trying to keep the equipment from getting busted.
Yeah.
But if I can figure out a way to mount it, I'll be able to actually run live in car. And
I was
important thing.
I was gonna have something. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. So I reached out to a local fabricator about building some mounts, and he's just so busy right now. And so I'm in the process of building my own mounts right now, and we're gonna see how they go at Carnage. Um, but I wanted to make them where you could go car to car with them real easy. So I think I got it figured out. I'll show you. I'll send you some pictures and stuff of what I've got going on later on.
All right.
And I think it's going to be a really good mount that's easy to take car to car. But we'll see. We'll see how they hold up at Carnage. But they are all metal, and I don't think they're going to break. So
the closest thing I came to for a simple, fast, easy mount, if you're not running your live camera, right, for in car, because you obviously have a lot more weight when you're doing that, but would be to take a screw with the same grade, or God, I'm drawing a blank here, but it screws right into that mount, like if it was on a tripod, and you literally would only have to put a bolt through, washer it, nut it, and then you just got to make sure that it's going to be the right length to screw that camera on. That's the only thing I could think of. But otherwise, you're going to have to make a whole flat plate. Everything mounts 4 different spots.
I'll send you what I came up with.
Okay.
It doesn't do none of that. It's pretty simple. Bolt, done.
Yeah, that would be nice, because right now we're using the sticky ones. Well, when it's cold like Ice Crush, you're not using those.
They break.
And
I
I lost the one. I lost the brand new GoPro. I had all this awesome footage, made all the way to the last class of the night, and I don't even know if it got on the track before it fell out, and it shot right down the hole of the transmission, is what we're guessing, and was just gone.
Oh man, I'd be sick.
If somebody might have walked away with it, I have no idea. Full Arena ended up buying me another one to replace it, because I think it was at their show, and he wanted me to keep doing that because he liked seeing it and wanted to support us. So the way we went with that, that was definitely a lesson I learned. Now we just use those metal. They almost look like leaders from fishing lines, but that way they can't. They'll swing around, but they don't ever fall out of the car anymore.
So I'll send you what I came up with here in a little bit. I I think it's gonna work, but it could get out there and break the first tip. That'd be my luck.
Well, if you get it down and it works awesome, believe me, there's a market for all that stuff. There's always people looking.
Well, what I came up with, anyone could do, so it wouldn't be too hard for. I'd just I'd show everybody just to add something.
Right.
But man,
We're
I'm
starting to see.
excited for them.
You're
I'm
starting to see
excited for
those.
them in-car cams.
Yeah, you're starting to see those full mounts now for cell phones. Then
Yeah.
that's just weird to me. I don't. I guess I work with too many cameras. I guess for a normal person, that's about all they got for a camera. But it's I'd be more afraid of. I got an S24, so I'd be a little afraid of that getting busted in there more than I would my own camera because the camera's cheaper.
Yeah, I, I said this phone $1,300. That camera's 300 or 400.
Yep.
But um, we had a couple guys that ran them from Missouri that ran them phone holders in Blizzard Bash, and they held up pretty good. The thing I didn't like about them is they just shook a lot. Like I don't know if they just weren't mounted best, like at the best they could be. The footage looked pretty shaky to me. You don't get that stabilization that you get with the GoPro. Um,
Yeah, I do love the
that's why I
stabilization.
chose.
Let's see. There's a couple people put some stuff here on Facebook. Andrew Pickett said he's the one that for the MWFA there in Ice Crush, but it's kind of funny. I got two of the champions on here from Ice Crush, but it's Andrew said Demolition Missions has a good one for an in-car, and Andy Oaksa says make it mount a 3/8 bolt. Most cars have roof signs that most people use the 3/8 bolts to attach. So
He about hit it right on the head. Andy did.
he put on a good show during Ice Crush too. Yeah, it was a pretty good one. Honestly, I don't know how he survived. He's a good driver.
he's a he's a hell of a driver. Man, anyone that can win Blizzard Bash back to back to is it back to back to back? I mean, jeez, they're good. They got it figured out. Did he run a Camaro at Ice Crush?
What color? Oh, an Ice Crush?
Oh,
No, he
did he?
ran a. Oh God, I don't know if it was a W body or Camry. I can't tell anymore from the distance I'm at, but
It's probably W body.
yeah, I think it was. There was a bunch of them out there. And there was a Honda out there too, and it got. Well, it died in a spectacular fashion. You'll see. Oh, Andy said it was a Monty. So, but after you bend them all up from, as you can see, I don't have the best eyesight, so I can't tell what they all look the same, especially if they're black.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody will tell you I am blind. I have glasses that I'm supposed to wear, but I never wear them. So half the time when I'm announcing, I announce for all the Lucky Seven shows pretty much. And man, when I'm up there announcing, I have the guy that's bringing the cars in. They'll radio it to me who's coming in because I cannot see that far.
Right. I got sick
I'm
and tired
like,
of looking at the TV and like everybody's telling, I'm asking everybody, how's the quality of this? It looks like crap to me, and I didn't realize my eyesight was bad. And I sat down and I was like, I need to go in and get my eyes checked. I can't handle this no more. So I got my glasses. I came home. I looked at the TV and I was like, oh, this actually does look pretty nice. And it makes it a lot easier when I'm working with stuff to figure things out now. But it was probably the best decision I ever made was to I'm hopefully move to contacts, but glasses for now.
That's something this year that we're really gonna push is our I when I announce we got something a little special planned for our derby drivers. I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna go through the pits at every show. I'm gonna say, give me a song. I'm gonna play you a 15-second snippet like they do, like at the baseball game or the
Right,
WWE when they're coming in. We're gonna separate. I'm gonna have it all played up. That way, I can just touch a button is when they come in with their name on it, and that's
right.
gonna be blaring, and I'll announce them. Oh, everyone already says I get too pumped up anyway, so I figure I'll just take it to another notch. So
It's always worth bringing it to another notch. Live streaming sucks for playing that kind of stuff because you almost have to have a mic on the announcer that cuts out the sound enough where it doesn't pick up
right,
the music. But I that's one thing that I have to improve in my live streams is, for one, I have to remember to turn the bit rate up before I start the live stream, which I kind of messed up during the live on this one. And then I have to get a mic on the announcer. You can hear him, but it's just not what it should be. I was pretty upset with myself afterwards.
that's you learn from every show. So
Well, I spent the last 2 days. My video card actually just died on my computer, a brand new computer, not even 2 months old. I got to bring it back for warranty, get a new one. But the I've been sitting on the computer for the last 2 days straight making graphics because I was just using the standard Streambox graphics, which are terrible. And I went through and I made every individual class graphic for the call outs. I've made my own graphics that pop up with the information in them, things like that. And I would gonna try a few new things this year. One of them being a green screen and pictures. If I can get this stuff, it may not be able to use it in the first show, but down the road, then I'll be able to pop that stuff up when the driver comes on, if I have that stuff available. Like I'll just have it on my computer. I'll run my computer right into the stream, and then it'll bring up that extra window in the corner with maybe a video or just the green screen picture of them with a car, or just maybe even a headshot. You know,
yeah, that's awesome. Your drivers are gonna love that, and the people that watch it, they're gonna love that. That's awesome.
it's just trying to get these guys' names out. I mean, like Andy has drove a bunch of these full arena shows that I've been at, and I never knew what his 4D sign was, but it wasn't 4D, it was foreplay. And I didn't understand, and when I finally found out, I laughed extremely hard. And then he has the RU18, and when I seen that, that was the first time I ever seen that, was when he rolled into Blizzard Bash. Now I know it's been around probably a bit longer than that, but I laughed so hard. But so I actually knew who he was when he showed up at the Ice Crush, because he had that sign on. But that's awesome. I love that comedy that these guys are putting in. Even showmanship. Like, I wish more people would get up on top of the car and celebrate or jump up and down or whatever it may be. But so many people are scared that they're flaunting it in front of the other drivers and they're going to get mad and come back after them or something, that they don't do it anymore. But the crowd's going nuts.
Oh yeah, we got a guy. His name's Derek Wardenhausen. I don't care if he gets first or last. You watch that guy. Every show he gets out of his car, does a backflip off of it. I mean, he was driving a Ford Ranger at California, Missouri this year. He got up on the roof of that sucker. I bet he was 10 feet off the ground when he arched off the back of that thing. I mean, I was like, I hope he don't do two backflips because he's freaking crazy.
That's wild.
And the crowd, they eat that up.
It definitely, they definitely do. I mean, because we cover a lot more in Derby, so we're kind of seeing different showmanship from different shows. Obviously, people who have a hard time getting out of their car faster, it's a lot harder for them to do. So Derby, it's kind of slow getting out of the car. I've seen people get up on top of the car cheering, and the crowd just goes wild. But we have this show that we go to. It looks like a dirt bike track, and they're racing, right? So they call it Baja racing. They got cages, and they celebrate every time a car rolls over. But the guys that are driving are just as nuts, and they love celebrating. The crowds go nuts. They got people all the way around the track watching, and they got a tabletop. These guys get like 5, 6 feet of air on some of these jumps, but everything's angled, so when you land, it doesn't hurt as bad, you know. But
This
the
is the show you
showmanship
guys were
is
talking about uh,
it.
on mine, I think. Uh, is
I
this
actually
the
got
one that you were saying? Is this the one that you were saying they like slam a beer or whatever?
yeah. So I actually have video of it. I know I played it during my last one, but I don't know if you've seen it. So I'll just play a real quick clip here. But this is these guys. Let's see. Hopefully it doesn't glitch out because it's not in 60. But that's the kind of stuff they're doing.
Man, that's awesome. The crowd eats that stuff up, and you get a different type of crowd at stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Like we've noticed, we have our demolition derby crowd, and then we have our figure eight crowd. But when you bring them together, oh my goodness! Like there's shows that we have figure eights, demolition derbies both the same night, and you get a little bit of each crowd. Like, and there's some people they're like, figure eight's coming out. I'm going to the concession stand. But then there's the guys that never seen it before. They're like, holy crap, these guys don't mess around. And then our figure eight guys, half of them are ending up in derby cars now. So
We're
it
starting to
just
see
goes
that.
hand in hand.
We're starting to see that with some of these, like Full Arena started it, I believe, and a lot of these other promoters are starting to do it. But they do that autocross, which is it. I usually when I edit the video, I keep them separate. So you got your derby, and that's usually why people are watching it because it's labeled Demolition Derby. Then I put the autocross at the end, so everybody can kind of just stick to. They don't got to keep jumping around, things like that. But Josh puts up a track, and sometimes it's just a simple little circle track inside the demo arena, or it's sometimes it's a full track like it was at Ice Crush. And these guys go out and they're learning to make their way to the front of the pack and push into the snow or into the dirt, whoever they got to do, and it's pretty fun to watch. But the derby guys, they don't like the autocross, and the autocross guys love the autocross, but they love the derby too. So it's kind of it gets butts in the seats. It gets people to get into a vehicle, get out there, and see that running into hitting somebody else isn't near as bad as a person would think it is. It doesn't take any time to build. Eventually, after your car's been destroyed enough, they tend to build it up a little bit more. Put a little bit more metal into it. Whether it be a flat front bumper or some of these, because there's no rules on the autocross, so you could build a external cage around your car if you really wanted to, if you didn't want your car to get wrecked anymore. But like Justin Claremont, he's putting saucers over top of his tires to keep his beads from getting broke and his tire ripped up, so he leaves a lot less tire on the track or out there to get hit. And he's got valve stem protectors and stuff now, but when I first met him, like a couple years ago, it was just stock, 100% bone stock.
Yeah, we've seen some of them autocross videos because you just wonder like what's the thing across the country. Um, we worry about having too many demolition derbies. Actually, that's that's something we worry about because cars are not getting cheaper.
Right.
But you want a good show. You don't want four guys to show up. You want 30, and you want the crowd. The fair board, they just care that the crowd's there.
Right.
But like our fair boards around here, one thing I'll say is they want a good show. Um, and we're starting to see, the more we talk to them, that everybody's just in it for the drivers, and it's awesome because um, the one thing we don't want is just too many derbies and people getting burnt out. Because last year, man, we had a group of guys come to every single show that we had for Derby, and I had him on earlier in the year. He said he went through between his wife, him, and his kid. I think he went through like 19 cars
Jesus.
in one season. I mean, if we had a show, he was there for something. I mean, it could be a stock show. He was there for a full size stock, full size built mod car. Pretty much, he was there.
That sounds like
The, I
Austin
mean,
Butler.
he and he was there for everything. And um, we worry about guys like that. You know, there's that takes so much of a toll on them that we just don't want them to. We don't want to lose anyone, especially people that are good for the sport.
Right.
Just because they have to run until they can't run anymore. And so we're always looking for like what's the next thing that you could put at a fairgrounds or something that is gonna be an awesome motorsport to have there that the crowd's gonna love that you're gonna get that same kind of action but in a different way.
Right.
And
Well, we get a lot of.
for like, go ahead.
Oh, as I say, we get a lot of field racing out here. They call that Baja bush racing as well, which is not the same as what I showed you just a little bit ago. Um, oh, sorry, I was reading something there, but that's kind of what's like north Minnesota. There isn't a lot of derbies. Like I'm from Grand Rapids, which is a little. It's not even middle of Minnesota. It's a little bit north of that. I think we're 2 hours from the border, and pretty much from here north, it's either Wissota, Baja, or Bush. There's a couple derbies to the west, a couple to the east. We just started one back up in Rapids. There's going to be another one this year. But otherwise, it's pretty much 2 hours or an hour and 45 minutes to each derby either way. And then, but that spacing is almost good because if the shows are paying out, enough to make that travel to run that show, you don't have all the other ones burning up the cars in between. They can go on, and I hate to say it because nobody ever wants to see their home show die, but when they start getting packed into that little area, then a lot of cars, a lot of different builds. The fair always puts on different rules than promoters do, so they end up just burning the cars up or making people angry at the sport, and you almost have to see some of those shows go away in order to grow it.
Our main issue, I think, on the derby side of things is no one wants to hurt anyone's feelings. Um, it's there's a lot of them like the big car drivers. They'll say, "Man, there's too much drama in this. We want to go out there and have fun. We don't want our buddies mad at us because no one else is showing up." And so our thinking behind this is how if we're going to put on a derby, how are we going to make this a derby where we're going to draw in some cars from all over the state? We want these guys to have someone to beat on, and we want the guys that are running their hometown show to come down here and put on a show here. Let's see who's bringing the best of the best. And uh, I think the boys. I'm not going to say nothing on here, but they've got some big plans for some things around here, and I can't wait till they release them
That's awesome.
because I know a lot of people are waiting. Um, because, like I said earlier, that's their main goal is to make it the best they can for the drivers, and I just can't wait till they release all their information to the public. So
And I've been watching you since you started growing, with Crashed It, and like you probably started a bit before I actually met you, but I've been watching you grow to the point you got monetized on YouTube, and you guys like the evolution of Lucky Seven promotion, and like it's just awesome watching this stuff because I feel like we aren't that different of people where it comes to wanting to see these drivers get the spotlight, to get everyone excited, the crowd going nuts, wanting to support these guys. I know somebody had said something earlier. We had Danny Main from Kansas. He had come up and he was on our live for Ice Crush. But like he's told me like his ideas on a lot of things, and he's been building 5 years or something like that, and he just has these ideas like trading cards for derby drivers so they can just hand them out to the kids and posters. And I know like Full Arena's really been doing a lot of different ideas for trying to blow the drivers out a little bit so that the kids can come buy something of them. I started trying to build driver shirts so that these people could buy shirts of their favorite driver or whatever, and just trying to get them drivers out there. Like that's the biggest part. I mean, the promoters, anybody, I guess anybody and everything. Like, if we had somebody who works in the merchandise tent and wants to talk about that, we'll talk about that. You know, a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, that's something that people have been reaching out to me about merchandise stuff, and I'm like, man, I've been working on it, and
I can send you in
I
a good
haven't put
direction.
anything out there. Last year, I got like 30 stickers. Didn't even I told people like, hey, I'm gonna sell these stickers just to you put them on your car or whatever. Um, I don't care. Just I'm gonna sell a few stickers. I bought 30 of them. I made it like 2 cars in the pits, and they're gone.
You
I
know,
was like, they bugged me about them, and we're trying to get something together for that. But for me, as for Crashed It, is I always tell people I'm gonna do the best I can to make you famous.
right?
I want you to I want you to feel famous. I don't care if it's for 5 minutes. I don't care if it's for 7 seconds. Everyone, I'm gonna do my best with what I can. I mean, I'm a little guy, but
I,
um,
I I
I'm
agree.
gonna
I'm
do
there
my
too.
best to. I'm gonna do my best to make you feel famous at least when you come on that track. So,
And like we've
and
had people like kind of lose their mind because they wanted to interview with us or they want us to come do an interview with them, and it's to us we're not big. We're just doing this thing, you know, and we hadn't gotten time to get to said person yet, and they got mad at us because they felt like we were purposely not letting them get quote unquote famous, you know. And it's like, well, guys, I'm not, now you're not really getting famous for me, but it's if I can make, like you said, if you can make them feel famous, absolutely. Why, you know, like that's awesome to get people out. That's why we're doing the interviews from the garage, because it's allowing somebody to tell their story. Some of these guys have been doing this 2 decades, you know, and they can get out there and tell their story of people who've demoed 100 times with them and never heard anything about them, whether it be they hate them or they like them, but they don't hear these stories. And that's what I want people to really hear, is to find out who people are. And if guy comes on the camera and is like, I won't hit somebody because I dislike them. It's I just hit you because that's how I drive. And all of a sudden these people see this and they're like, oh, all right, well, we get to play and nobody's gonna be mad afterwards. Awesome. And they go out and they put an awesome show on, you know. And that's what I'm hoping to really see out of all that.
oh yeah, we got a guy, man. That's what his nickname's the Mad Dog because that's what he does. He goes up and he's gonna hit somebody hard at some time, and the crowd, you know, they're just waiting on it. They're like, oh, we're all gonna watch Henry. He's gonna put that bumper straight up in the air. When's it coming? But uh, going back to the drivers, feeling famous, we tell our drivers like, go get you some shirts made, promote yourself.
Right.
You don't understand how many of these kids look up to you. And you talk to these drivers on the podcast like we have. You probably hear the same stories of how'd you get started? Well, I went to a county fair when I was 17, and that looked pretty cool, so I figured I was gonna do it. Or you get that person. Ever since I was 6 years old, I've wanted to drive a derby car. I've looked up, and we tell our drivers like these kids, they look up to you. Be a professional out there. We want you guys to be professionals. We want you to carry yourself as a professional. We want you to put on a show as a professional. And we want you to, after the show, we want you to be involved with the fans. We want you to, tell
Absolutely.
them your story. Tell them, help the young guys out, build the sport. And I think, I think it's honestly, I like the way the sport's going. I feel like it's growing each and every day. You might not get the car count that you see like 20 years ago, but you got to realize the cars
They're not there anymore.
were not what they take more work to build now. There's a lot more time that goes into it. but
Right.
the quality of the drivers that you're seeing guys that, they've turned it into a lifestyle. You see their families showing up to every show. They're all friends with everyone they're driving with. They're all their, they'll go party after the show with everybody they just went and beat on.
Yep.
And they'll be the first ones to step up and have your back. If something goes south, like later on in the evening or something. Um, I
Well, it's
don't
like,
remember. There was a show, I think it
oh,
was
go ahead.
Spring Explosion or something. There's a show in Spring Explosion or something like that where a Derby guy's truck got stolen
Oh,
and
geez.
by just some random person. Well, that guy got taken to Pound Town. We'll just call it that.
I can believe it.
All them drivers stepped up. So
That's something I tend to see around too at these shows. Is it doesn't matter if the drivers don't get along. There's always a mutual respect there, and maybe on the track they're a whole different group of people. They may even mean mug each other from across the pits, but if something was to happen to one of them, the rest of them would be there.
oh yeah, we see it time and time again with any kind of, with motorsports in general. You're in like a group. I like to group them together, like the Derby guys, you see the mud run guys, the guys that are running the side by sides. You see so much good, like when they have those little rallies, or if they mention like, man, this person came down with bad health, and you see them people just opening their wallets. They don't even know the people,
You know,
but they'll just open their wallets, try to help whatever family's going through that tough time. Because in all honesty, they've probably been there before,
well,
some way or another.
like Tegan when he was at Blizzard Bash, um, and then I've seen it happen pretty much year time and time again where somebody needs help and everybody buys all this stuff and they buy it way more expensive than than it's worth because they're just trying to put money in this family's wallet, and it's absolutely amazing to watch. And the mud community is the same way. They're the same type of people as the derby people, except for they just love a different type of rig, and I'm starting to see not only are they the same kind of people, I'm starting to see crossovers. In fact, there's a couple big guys that, well, again, I haven't been following the mud community really long enough to call anybody big or small, but these guys are there every time I go film the mud races, and they run mod trucks at their hometown show. Like that's their thing. You'll see it in their TikTok videos or their videos on Facebook. They'll be scanning through their garage, and it's mud truck, and then two builders trucks. It's like I don't know how they find the time.
Yeah, they gotta have good jobs.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, with steel and the economy being so awesome, it makes it real hard to build anything.
For sure.
But I suppose we're about an hour and a half in. Do you want to let everybody know how they can find you and continue down these stories? Because I know you tell stories of these drivers, and you pretty much do exactly what we tend to do. And if they want to reach out and find you, and your every platform, I believe too, right?
Yeah, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Just crashed it. We like crashing things, so we put just crashed it in there, and it should pop up. Um, um, I will leave you guys with one thought though. Um, when you go to a show, just go thank a driver. Go thank them for all their hard work and dedication. Um, you may not know what that driver's going through, or what kind of, how many hours he put into that car, but whenever you show up to a show, you unload your car and a person comes up to you and says, "Man, I'm so glad you came. Thanks. I can't wait to see the show you're about to put on." You go tell someone that, it instantly clicks in their head. They're like, "Man, this person just came over here just to talk to me, and they want me to put on a show. So I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna go a little further this time." And I've
Yeah.
heard it time and time again. They're like, "Man, I, I wasn't gonna drive like that, but someone told me they came just for me to watch me send this thing to the sky. So I got to now. And
Yeah, and that's absolutely awesome. And you're 100% right. I mean, uh, like we don't even realize that when we're doing interviews and running around, like it's easier to interview people that you've talked to previously. So sometimes you pass past people you haven't talked to, and it's not that you don't mean that it doesn't mean that you don't want to interview them or you don't want to talk to them. It's just you're trying to bam, 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 kick things out, And there was a couple guys that I did spotlights on that I haven't got the videos out for yet that were like, dude, you passed by me so many times, and you're actually gonna stop and do this. This is awesome, And it's like if I could go down every line and do every person that had never had one every time I was at a show, I would absolutely do it.
so yeah, all of our shows, I try to do pit walkthroughs. Like I walk through the pits, I give a little short snippet. What are you planning on doing tonight? And man, they love it. The drivers love it, and there's just so much that's going on when I get there. They're like, "Hey, go tech these cars," or "Hey, where the heck are you?" Because half the time I'm at a dang softball game for my kids, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to get to the track by the time an hour or two before just to help out whenever, however I can, and get set up. So I don't
it's
get to do it every time, but
right.
man, when I do, I sure enjoy talking to the drivers and hearing all the stories and hearing you know what they went through to get this car to where it is, and you see the people that's been in the sport forever, you know, that's helping out these younger guys. Like they're over there talking to them and saying, you could do this. Like we've had them in the tech line. They'll get out of their cars while they're waiting, and they'll be like, "You should add something here. Or you're gonna have to cut that or something." They may be messing with them or whatever, but um, I've the main thing I've ever heard out of the podcast. I know you're running. I'm running this
Oh
long
no, it,
probably.
it can go as long as it needs to. I just wanted
Uh,
to make
the
sure that I
main
got
thing I've
your information
the
out there
main
before.
thing that I've got out of doing podcast and videos for people is not the derby. It's not the figure eight racing. It's the overall. It's the friendships that you build over time. It's the people that you start out with hating, that you become friends with, and now you call each other brothers, and you're not really brothers, but you're that close. You're family. Um, these guys around here, at least, I mean, it's crazy to me the amount of passion that each and every person that comes to the shows have, and just the camaraderie overall. When we put on shows, there isn't like a man, I'm gonna go take that guy out. These guys are all chilling out, having a good time. Sometimes I think it's a race to who can get to the track first. But no one's gonna beat. We got a guy. His name's Ricky Bobby. He's
I've
the
seen
first
him.
guy every week. every every race, man. He's the first one there. He'll be there 3 hours before the gates open. He's just waiting on the gate. But
I wish I had
um,
time like that.
it's man, it's the camaraderie um,
Like
that
you,
blows me away.
we're lucky if we get there in time to set everything up. It takes about 2 hours running cables and getting everything. It's wintertime. It would took 2 hours. It might take a little bit less during a normal show, but you got to have with three cameras running. You got to put up a tent. You got to have all your platforms set, all your power set. Things I learned the last show was you you need to run bigger cables for your sound, not for me, but for other stuff. And if you happen to be running other stuff, you got to run your own stuff from somewhere else. You don't want to overload anything. You can't have too much
Oh, we did
Wi-Fi in
that.
one area, so there's a lot of planning that really goes into it. But at the end of it, I'm like, yes, we're done. I look at the clock, and I'm like, oh God, we don't even get to get interviews. Or you have a plan to do interviews during the show, and everything just falls apart because there was no way to set up so people could get their cars off the track so that they could come talk while the cleanup was happening. And that's one thing we're really working on is doing those winter interviews. If I could do top three, I would. Um, but more than likely, it'll probably just come down to the person that won. You get them in the booth, talk with them while the cleanup's happening, have somebody help get their car off the track, and uh, let them tell their story right after all that crazy stuff happened. That's what I
Well, you
want to
get the
hear, and I want to
raw.
hear when you're half there because you just don't know how you won this show, but you did.
Yeah, you get the raw emotions with those right after the fact interviews,
Yeah,
and those are going to be interesting.
yeah. I'm definitely trying. I mean, if you ever get, I know you guys are super busy in the summertime, but you ever want to come up and see what we got going on here, come on up. I'll throw you in a booth with Dwayne. You guys can sit and BS through the show. Um, it'd be a fun time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be a blast. Uh, but yeah, it's just so awesome the that you said that you might overload a system because we were putting on a show, so we run them transponders that count the laps, and that runs off of Wi-Fi and power, and we were all using the same power,
Oh no.
and well, we only had two outlets. So we had a bunch of them like strips, those
Oh
little,
no, daisy
you
chained
know,
them.
those, we had all the strips plugged in, but we lost everything. We blew out their power on that pole.
I've always worried about that. It's been a fear because then you get the surge. Plus, you could take out a whole bunch of other stuff in the process, and fires. And your best bet is just getting one of those really thick contractor cables and just running that. If you're gonna daisy chain, you almost have to. You know what I mean?
Well, we learned our lesson with that. So,
But yeah, it's a learning experience every time we get out there. I don't care how many times we've done this. I mean, I don't know who pays attention, but it seems like every show we don't make huge steps. We just is a little bit, a little bit, and a little bit. So every show changes until I get to the point I'm happy. But I'm really picky, so I'm not happy with the way my product looks right now. I don't care if everybody else is happy with it. I'm not happy with it, so it's going to continue to move forward. Eventually, hopefully, getting to where I want it to be, but more than likely not. Like it's always got to keep evolving. It's always got to keep changing. I wish I could do 3D graphics because believe me, I would add some crazy stuff in there. I got a lot of things bouncing around my head, but I'm lucky I can use Illustrator. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm like, man, there's so much I want to do, but I just don't have the resources that I need to do what I want to do. But it's baby steps, and then sometimes I take steps back because I'll do awesome at some shows, and then there'll be a show I'm like, man, what the heck
yep.
happened there? And I'm like, I gotta regroup
So
because
when you watch Ice Crush, try to see if you can figure out where in that show, when I was filming the derby going on, um, when I lit my pants on fire. So, and there's a few people I know I've talked about a little bit here and there, but um, I was filming and the sun was coming down, so I was trying to back up to get the shade back on the lens, and I wasn't paying attention where I was standing, and I was standing right next to the buddy heater, and the buddy heater lit my snow pants on fire because I mean it was cold, so I'm all bundled up, and all of a sudden I started smelling something, and I'm like, what in the world is that? And I was like, I kind of ignored it and went back to filming, and then it got worse, and I was like, oh man, I couldn't feel the heat because my snow pants were super thick. They were like snow wheel pants. And I looked down, and there I have flames coming up my leg, and all of a sudden, the camera gets all crazy. I kind of let go of the camera and walked away, but I kicked the tripod and everything else trying to get away so I could put this fire out. But I don't care how good
oh
anything
yeah,
goes, something like that's always going to happen.
yeah, I was in the middle of the truck heat at Blizzard Bash, and you can definitely tell what happened to me. I was sitting there recording right after a big shot, a piece of debris come and knock the whole phone out of my hand.
Oh
But you
Jesus.
can see the screen just twirl. Then I pick it up real quick. But oh yeah, I was sitting there recording and a big piece of debris just came and knocked the phone completely out of my hand. I was like, oh my gosh. But
Oh,
then uh, it's crazy what you pick up on the camera that
yeah.
you don't notice.
Well,
And
everybody thinks because
there's
you're
things.
filming it that you're watching it. You're not watching it at all. You were trying to keep the cars in the screen or get the action shots or whatever. Maybe you don't actually see the show, and then so I have to
uh,
watch it when I edit it. That's the only time I get to actually watch the show.
some guy sent me a TikTok video that he took from my YouTube thing. He goes, "Can I post this?" I said, "Oh yeah, do it." I'm sitting there. He's like 3 rows in front of me. Gets a black eye from a piece of mud that just comes flying, and you can see it perfectly on my camera. I never would have noticed it, but man, he got freaking smoked in the face.
Oh,
And
that's
then I
wild.
go back and watch it. At that point of the video, I don't even. It don't matter how many times I watch that, because you watch anytime you record something, you're gonna watch it back to
Oh, a
see,
hundred times.
how can I get better? How did I do this? But how's the video look? And every time I get to that part, I just focus all about that guy that stands now, just getting smoked in the face with the mud. I'm like, man, that looks like it hurt.
Well, it's always that one clip. All it takes is that one hit or that one crazy thing that happened, or and then all of a sudden it goes viral, and next thing you know, you're able to afford a couple more products. I mean, everybody thinks you get these million views and all of a sudden, boom, you're rich. I can tell you this personally, and I'm sure you can too. Off of a 15,000 view video, you're probably going to get like 30, $40 tops. So but people seem to think it's all this money. Like I've had people be like, "Oh man, you run high octane." It's like you make all this money. It's like no, I actually spend most of the money out of my pocket to go do this. So I've been trying to
I
figure out new
lose money.
ways
Yeah.
to do that. Sponsors are hard to come by. We actually had a few people who've really stepped up and want to help out. Um, Otherwise, yeah, it's not easy to come by money for. You don't want to charge the promoter because the promoters don't make much, and they put enough time into putting the show on to make it better. So you almost have to do like a crowdfunding type deal, which is kind of what YouTube is, but YouTube pays really really bad.
Uh, I always just hope that maybe I'll make my money that I paid to get to the show, like into the show, back. Not to get there or to stay at a hotel or nothing like that, but just to pay to get into the show. Like like at Carnage, I will post all the videos later on, but I'm like, man, I hope I make $100 to pay for my ticket.
Right. I know
But
I rented Blizzard Bash. That was the first time I've ever rented a big show like that by myself, and I didn't get just the one because I was sitting there editing videos the whole time. So I had on the big screen next to me, I had Blizzard Bash going the whole time, and it's pretty spendy to buy by yourself. But
yeah, oh yeah,
that's why they can do what they do. They're able to take that money and buy the equipment to make the show that good or that big, and that's
yeah, and a lot of them
unfortunately.
charge the promoter to be there.
Yeah, yeah. Not only do they charge the promoter to be there, but then they also charge for uh, the individual people as well. Um, I know that we've had to come to trying to figure out how to afford to pay for some of this stuff because I mean I'm gone all summer long, and we run a long ways and we burn a lot of gas, and I've had to try to figure out how to fund all this. Not only the camera equipment. I mean I'm running two cameras right now with scratch lenses. You can't see, but one chunk of mud's all it took for both of them. And you always got to improve your stuff too, because most people don't realize you can't just buy a camcorder, run it 5 hours every three or for 3 days out of the week every week, and expect that camera to continue to work. They only have a shelf life, So after they've hit so many shutter rules or whatever it may be, it's done. And so you got to continue to do that. Each one of these cameras I run, which here's one right here, I was just charging it. They're $2,000 a piece, and I got to get a third one. And in order to afford all that, I mean, you almost have to reach out and ask for help, or you got to have a membership, or you got to have a pay-per-view system. Otherwise, you can't upgrade your stuff. And if you don't upgrade and you're not getting better when it comes to promotion, media, anything like that, it's gonna die. You know, something's gonna die down, whether it be your business or your promotion or whatever it may be. So, as much as as a person I am who hates to charge ever for anything, you have to figure out some kind of crowdfunding way to be able to take that money and put it back into it, because I don't make enough every year. I probably spend like, I'd say, a sixth of what I make all year simply just on equipment and travels costs, you know. And I still got a family I got to pay for, so that's what you're looking at.
That's why I say, good thing I don't do this for my day job.
I think the most expensive part though for me was the trial and error, because I knew Dirt Race Central what does around here, but the cameras they're running, they've had time to upgrade those. So now I'm trying to catch up. Well, talking with them, they're like, "Oh yeah, get this." I was looked at the price of it, and I'm like, "This used is like 5 grand. I can't get that."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What at this price range can I get?" And I got the first one, and I was in love. And then I somehow just I had a credit card, and I was like, took the chance on it, threw it on there, somehow was able to afford it, and then from there, just kept going down. Every Black Friday, if you're buying media equipment, Black Friday's the time to do it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Because media equipment doesn't go on sale any day except for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Otherwise, all
Yeah.
year long, everything's expensive.
You
I
can't
think
buy the cheap stuff either, because
no,
the the cheap stuff doesn't work.
no. I mean, I buy my tripods are about $300 to $400 a piece, and they still fall apart. You have to constantly maintain them because the screws fall out or they come loose. And next thing you know, you'd be filming, and the tripod just goes, and the leg falls down on it or something like that. So you got to keep everything maintained. Like now we're running the booth, so we got lights. As you can see, I didn't get to shower after work today, so I look all sweaty. But you get to in order to run lights for the booth and stuff, those cost money. And I'm running cheap ones right now. You can probably tell. Once I get better ones, it'll be a lot better. Whether you be running a green screen, if you want to have a nice tent and then put advertising on it. I don't know if you ever looked at a custom tent, but they're a couple grand. And here I am
Yeah,
driving a Subaru WRX with a rack on top of it, and I haul everything in that thing. It's just me and Dwayne in the front seats, and then it's equipment in the back seat piled to the roof sometimes, and then the rack is piled with, like, during Ice Crush, I happened to stumble across a pop-up fish house for the ice, and it was free, and I just took it, and then I brought it to the show, cut a hole in the side of it, and filmed right outside of the hole. And the trunk's always full of equipment. I mean, because you always bring way more than you need. I probably got $13,000 worth of equipment inside the car at all times, just to make sure that I got what I need. It gets rough.
that's crazy. People don't realize what it takes to just try to stay with everything and give them the best product that it takes. So
Well, I
best
tell you
product
what,
you can come by. But
the drivers that I work with these shows, they've been absolutely amazing. I worked with I'm not going to put a name out on it, but I worked at a place one time, and it was just I was there for quite a while, and some of the drivers were really good, and some of the other drivers were pieces of dog poo, and it almost made me quit doing this, because I went from driving to this, and no support, nobody want to talk, like try to remind you that you're doing a good job or whatever, and it gets a little bit taxing. I got in the derby world, and everybody just like grabbed me and was like, "We love what you're doing." They make sure they go out of their way. I get texts, messages, it's like it just keeps you moving forward, even when you get to that point where you don't want to do it anymore. Then they remind you why you want to do it.
and sometimes you gotta. I kind of did that last year. I had to kind of take a step back and say, man, I need to self-reflect here. I need to. But them drivers, man, they, you don't realize how much they pay attention to what you're doing until you quit doing it for a minute, and then they're like, "Hey, what the heck, man? Where are you? What are you doing? I need my podcast, or I need. Are you gonna post any videos up? We
Yeah.
watch it all the time." And our drivers around here are awesome about that. They're always sending me Snapchats of they're in their living rooms with all their buddies, and they've got the YouTube on, or just they're watching something that you put out, and it makes you feel really good about it. So
Oh, I completely agree. Like, I didn't know people would actually watch my podcast on a TV. Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense, because I figured they just have their phone, maybe plug it, have it on Bluetooth in their car or whatever. And I'm seeing like Snapchats of people I had no idea even watched it because I can't see who's watching it. I can just see how many people are watching it. And some people are back every single time, to come watch, or they're making sure they're watching, or they, like, what do you mean there's no show tonight? Like I was sitting here on the couch waiting, and that's Scott. He says that kind of stuff. I know he was in here for a bit. I don't know if he's still in here, but it makes you want to keep doing it. It makes you want to keep being there and being reliable, versus like you get to that point. Everybody gets to that point. It's going to be, I don't know. We don't really need to do this. Nobody really cares, and then you don't do it, and there's a lot of people that care. They were waiting to spend that time watching your show, or just to interact with either you or the guest or whatever it may be.
yeah, yeah, it's rewarding. That's the best part I'd say about anyone that gets into the media side of this is it's rewarding about just the memories that you're gonna make for people,
I agree.
and just so
Well,
that's
like
one thing I'd say.
getting into the memories, but being in media or doing the media stuff, like you also get to know everybody. So there may be a blood feud here and a blood feud there, but you like both sides. And like I've even talked to both these guys, like they don't really like each other. They had something go down, and they just didn't like each other. As they've never talked to each other ever. And the thing is I've talked to both sides a lot, and it was like I try to stay out of all their stuff. But one day I think I was like, and I told both of them in the same day, I'm like, you guys are exactly the same people. Exactly. Like there's no difference between that group and this group. Like you guys just don't talk to each other, and you guys are both mad at each other for literally the same reason. Because one group might have won one show, and then the next show the other group won, or whatever it may be, and it's just how it is. But I get to be I get to talk to everybody. I get to see all sides of it, all aspects. Whether it be somebody who's got a bunch of money in a motor and how their story to get it there, or somebody's got just a stock deal and can barely weld. You know, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, you get to know everybody, and every now and then there's something that sparks up, and they'll ask you like, "What do you think? What do you think about that?" And you're like, "Man, I gotta watch my words carefully."
A lot of the times as well, I don't have an opinion on it. But that was
Oh,
wild.
I give my opinions. I give my opinions. So,
I try to
oh
stay
well.
out of it because my knowledge of Derby, besides what I can see, how everything plays out, I can't build a car, so I can't tell you what I think of their build. I've seen things that I should have never seen, and I know I shouldn't have seen them. But you don't ever repeat that. It's not your business. You know what I mean? So it's just like you just carry on watching, getting to know the people. It's a good time.
Yeah, and that's something I forgot to mention that earlier. That's another thing that we're gonna kind of do this year. I'm gonna reach out to some of our drivers, and we're gonna kind of make a documentary, like of a day at the races, or a day at the figure eight, or a day at the Derby. And I'm gonna have like a separate film that I'll post up later, like a documentary style, um, just to kind of give the fans of we have people that watch our channels that have no clue, you know, they don't even know what that is until they see it,
Right, right.
or they're like in different countries or different parts of the world, or you know they
So
don't know really
have you had
what
anybody from
goes
Europe
on.
come over and talk crap about our derbies yet?
Oh yeah,
all the time. They're
Every
like,
reel, ev-
"What are we watching? What are we
every reel
watching? A
I
grandma
post, you
derby?"
look on them. Yep. Every reel I post, I guarantee you, I have about 50 banger guys get on there, and they'll say, "Oh, these aren't hard hits." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"You don't realize how hard these guys really hit." They're
a
like,
lot of
"You
people
should
don't.
film a banger."
These derby guys don't see those comments most of the time. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't dig through the comments, but there's always banger guys showing up somewhere, talking about how big a wussies these guys are over here with their demo and their grandma banging and like I can understand why they think like that. Did you ever watch the documentary on Discovery Channel on the banger races?
No.
Guy was going around the track and his arm was like sitting on the window and somebody hit it, snapped it in half.
Oh,
The guy finished the race.
yeah.
That included the crashing and everything else, and his arm was just flopping around. He set it on his lap and away he went. Now, most of the time anybody break an arm like that, it's instant red flag, waving, trying to stop, trying to get to the hospital, and this guy just kept on going.
Unless you go to Blizzard Bash, there's the people. Same thing. They're like, "I'm not breaking my stick because I'm hurt."
Yep.
Their teammates are dependent on them. And man, I've seen people drive with broken wrist, and they get out of the car right after it's over, and they go straight out the door, and they're going to the ambulance. So,
Yep.
um, but yeah, so one of the reels I posted, I had a banger guy get on there. It's like, "I'm gonna build you guys a car. I'll build you a car." Like they got into a big argument. I loved it because the ratings went through.
Right.
That thing was circulating. I was getting all kinds of views, and these guys were going at it, and this guy's like, "You know what? I'll build you a car if you come to Europe or wherever this place was and doing a banger." And he goes, "All right, taking you up on it." He
That'd be
goes, "You can
awesome.
come to America and drive a derby car.
Grab
We'll
a
see who
camera and go
has
with.
the." Yeah, I was like, "Man, that's awesome. I hope they keep it up. I want a feedback on that." So
But just think about it this way: if it does happen, that wouldn't happen without you, and
yeah,
that's
most
awesome.
most of the derby guys, though, I will say one thing is when they say they're gonna do it, they do it, man.
Oh yeah.
They keep their word. And man, we had a guy that retired, local legend. Actually, he probably had one of the best 3 years running, 3 to 5 years running, and he just hung it up. And his son was derbying, and he said, "Man, his son kind of got junked by one of our local guys, and he went out there and said, 'Hey, I'm gonna come back out of retirement just for you.'" And no one really thought much of it, but this year he showed up, and yeah, he didn't miss a beat. Right back to winning.
It's that game of chess in their head. Like you can be a mad dog, you can be somebody who hits hard with strategy, or you can just be somebody who tries to sandbag and waits to the end. But there's all these different strategies on how to get to the front, and some of these guys just have it down, hook, line, and sinker. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Well,
He just it's
we talked with this guy in Bagley when we were there, and he was done. He was retired derby, and we've been trying to talk him into getting back in a car. But back in the day, there was no rules against foaming, right? So he'd run a stock class, and he would fill the trunk with foam, and the door panels and everything with foam, and everybody thought foam was weak. Well, if you've ever used foam, it's very strong.
it,
Especially once you get all that air out of the way. Yeah,
oh
but
yeah.
he would do things like that, and everybody's got their little secrets. But the guy was good. He got to the point where he was getting chased out of the shows with threats of violence, and never came back because of it. But it was just wild time.
Yeah. That's that's what most of our figure eight guys are doing now with they run like donuts on their rear, like the spare tires. Um and they're filling them things with foam and reinforcing those wheels. They're adding weight to the back so they slide around the corners better. They're like drifting. They're
Yep.
stronger. They never pop. I mean, it's crazy. But
A
they're
little.
they're taking these tires to a special place in like Kansas City. Like it's 3 hours from us to get this special. They're filling them a special way where that foam doesn't break down,
That's crazy.
and it's amazing. Yeah, it's. I wish I could go into detail of the figure eight build that sometime, but there's so much to it. It's just nuts. You just have to see it in person. The guys that came down from Illinois this year to run some of our shows were like, "Holy smokes, these
As
guys are not playing." And we're like, "Yeah, it's
well,
it's
the enduros
crazy."
here, they're not super strong builds, but you're allowed to weld every seam in the body, from the front fender to the back door, the back of the back door.
Mhm.
So you weld that solid, foam the doors, plate them, whatever you got to do on the inside. You can't have anything on the outside. So what I do is I would bar the door, and then put a road sign between the bar and me. So if it ever bent in, I had to push that uh, that
Yep.
sign in, which was an aluminum sign, and get them from the scrapyard or whatever. But those things are super strong. Then you take that thick house foam, jam it in every big hole you can get, and then you take fill-a-foam, fill all the little holes in, and then that stuff gets hot and melts the other foam, and it becomes one big chunk. And those cars never, like, they barely pushed in ever. You might get a line down the side. You're more likely to blow the engine up before you get the whole side ripped off your car or something. Another thing would be like me, and I'm not driving anymore for enduro. Like I can I kind of throw it out there, but uh, take the mount for the spare tire, take a big old thick bolt, cut it, so then run it up through the spare tire, drop the spare tire on it, put a big old washer on it, and tighten that thing all the way down so that spare tire's in there stuck with the rim. And then you cut it off and leave it there. So whenever you got hit in the ass end wide open, it would push the rear end up in the air instead of going down. So you didn't ever have to worry about your rear end hitting the ground.
Yeah, I know my brothers. If they're watching still at this point, they're shaking their heads, going, "Gosh, dang, we're gonna see a bunch of foam in the doors this year." I
it
guarantee that's what they're thinking.
Just make sure it's dry, because one time I didn't make sure it was dry. I foamed it 2 days before the show. Wasn't hot out. I got a rip in my door, and all that foam kept going out on the track while I was going around the track.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Well, I knew it was mine too, because like I knew it was still wet, and so yeah, as soon as you got hit, I got hit pretty hard. I knew right where I got hit, and I knew that foam was coming out of my car, and it would just leave a chunk here and a chunk there and a chunk there.
That's awesome.
But
Oh
I
yeah,
suppose
I guarantee someone's gonna try it.
you can make a car pretty solid with it. I mean, if you think about it, if you fill it, like most firewalls have some gaps in it, right? So if you fill a foam the gaps in it, you gotta imagine it's got to make it a little bit stronger there too. But added with a cage, and those things are unstoppable.
Hmm. Yeah, you guys need to call Jacob and Joshua before you do some of that stuff. Just say.
But yeah, being I'm just media, I don't. It's not my problem now, tech guys.
Go,
But I
man.
suppose, man, we're getting to that point though.
Yep.
I gotta get this computer back to the store, but I'd love to bring you back on here again. And as we get further into the season, obviously I could sit and talk to you all day, because we pretty much do a lot of the same stuff, and not a lot of people understand it. So it's awesome being able to talk to you about this stuff.
Yeah, it's a blast coming on and talking to you, and I was glad that you came on to mine. It's always, man, you guys were talking about that ice racing and stuff, and I bet I had 500 people come up to me that week after, and they're like, "Dude, that ice racing sounded intense." That's
It
all
is.
they were just talking about the ice racing.
They
They
didn't get.
they thought that's what they picked out of the whole podcast. Man, that ice racing. When they were talking about that stuff rumbling across there, like, ooh,
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't get like Dwayne makes fun of me. He makes fun of me pretty bad about it, and because I'm scared of falling through the ice. Because I mean, who wants to fall through the middle of a lake in the wintertime? And I don't care how thick the ice is, I'm still scared. But when you feel that ice come up 6 inches underneath your feet, if you don't like being on the ice, everybody will know because you'll be the same shade as the snow. And I was.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be like, where do I get the heck off this?
It's one of those opportunities though, because these guys, I mean, they love their sport as much as everybody else, and they literally twist the frames on their cars so that, and they put one-speed transmissions in these things, and they run them with a high horsepower motor, and they step on the gas and it raises the front tire right up off the ground. They trike all the way around the corner on like a 3/8 mile track or bigger.
Yeah, so all you ice racers, when you see that drone in the air, you know why now. You record that with the drone.
I've actually been backing down off the drone a little bit, and trying to get everything else down. But I got so high octane. We kind of bring other people in under an umbrella. That's kind of the end goal, to give all these other guys that want to do media the ability to sit and learn with us. Let me teach them how to do things, because I don't feel there's enough media people like covering a lot of these shows. I can't cover everything. I mean, I cover a ton of shows, and I still don't even scratch the surface of it. And but to be able to bring them in and introduce like cinematography guys. I got a guy who works for me. He literally goes to classes for cinematography, but he has no way to prove what he can do. So he comes in and he works with me, and it sounds like he's with us all year this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got Jacqueline
That is awesome.
from North Dakota. She's gonna come take pictures for us when we're out there, and she's invited to come to Minnesota shows whenever she wants to. Lets them get that out there, maybe make merchandise for them to make money, but at the same time give the drivers something that they deserve, whether it be pictures or plaques, or I mean, like if you've seen what Destiny does, it's just amazing.
Midwest Photo by Destiny.
Yeah,
She's awesome.
she does awesome work. I actually hope to see her come to Minnesota at one of these derbies and get to know some of these drivers. I know she's had a few requests to come, but
Yeah, it's been a blast being on here, and just keep up doing what you're doing, man. You're killing it. So,
I'm always learning, and not everything I do is always a success. But if you keep pushing forward, something's gonna happen. I mean, I've definitely been enjoying watching your stuff grow, and if I can ever pass on like anything to help you along the way, believe me, I'd love to. So I know
you do.
we've
You help me a
talked.
lot. A lot of people don't realize. I've reached out to you a lot, and you've helped me a lot of times. I've had questions on, man, what do I go with here? And you give me really good advice, and it's people like you that you know that help people grow. It's always helpful. You don't have to compete with anyone. You can grow together, and you definitely do. And you're not
Absolutely,
out there to put anyone down. So that's
I,
awesome.
I feel you grow faster together than you do not together. Because I mean, if your show is down in Missouri, you're doing really good, and your demos are growing, and the words are out there, for Derby to grow. Well, now Derby's growing there. Slowly, that's going to come north, or it's going to go south from here, wherever it may be. But eventually, it's going to get there. And if the two of us are doing what we're doing, and you're growing and I'm growing, and now these other media guys that I don't know if you work with or have worked with anybody else or talked with anybody else, but I work with people across the nation and talking and helping and trying to help grow all of this stuff. And in the end, it's going to help all of us, whether it be the promoters
Sure.
or us for filming more cars. Or it's been an awesome experience, and I'm glad I got to meet you early on, because it's been a fun trip just kind of watching you go through this. I've reached out a couple times when I didn't need to. I didn't want to see you get a copyright strike, and we had talked about that, and
I
it turned
appreciate those.
out, and it turned out it was all fine, and if fine anyway. But I'm definitely scared of getting copyright strikes, because it only takes 3 and they just channel gone. Or sometimes you just lose your channel and you don't do anything. I mean, that's happened too. So
That's what, yeah. I'm very thankful for that. And that's, everyone asks me, like, why don't you go live, like live stream? Because the first time I did, I got copyright striked on the national anthem. So
yep.
I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Well, if you ever want to go
I just
live,
don't.
or or do that. I can teach you. I mean, the stuff that I'm actually upgrading all my equipment, but the stuff I have now, you might be able to start live streaming for, besides cameras, but just like the streaming equipment, you're looking at maybe $1,000, you know, and that's really cheap these days because it used to be $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 to live stream with, you know.
Yeah.
But as technology improves, it allows people like us to actually do what we want to do to support this stuff, and it's a great time.
It's been a blast. I know we're running. I don't want to bore anyone, so I thank you for letting me come on here, man. It's been a blast.
I definitely
And
love to have you
we'll
come
reach
back on.
out this summer. Yeah, we'll reach out this summer. So
Yeah, you need to fill a spot and get a hold of us. Me and Dwayne will come back on. He was, like I said, he was in the chair. In fact, he sent me a picture of his tattoo. I don't know if you guys can see it on here. He says, "Ouch." He's just being a pansy. But can you see his foot there?
yeah, that has to hurt.
He's getting his whole leg done, so it's going to be awesome when it gets done. But we enjoyed last time. He was actually pretty excited to hear that you were coming on, but he wasn't able to make it because of his tattoo appointment. But
Yeah, we'll get you guys back on too, because I want to reach it. Well, I've got some stuff after we, you know, after we release it. I want to know what you guys think about it. So.
oh, absolutely. I definitely love hearing new ideas. Believe me, I try new things all the time, and like I said, they don't always work. So, but it's better to find out. And if you ain't remember, if you're not failing, you're not trying. So.
Well, I'm pretty good at the other option, so.
It's without risk. There's no. If you have a little risk, you have a little reward, and I think that what you guys got going on is going to be successful. So I'm pretty excited to hear about it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome. But all right,
man. Yeah, just reach out when you're ready to do that, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too.
Well, if you guys are still here, thank you guys for coming on tonight and watching our discussion, or my discussion with Jonathan Wood, and he does the Crashed It podcast. Make sure you go on over and follow him on his YouTube. He's got TikTok, Facebook. If he said something else in there, I am totally screwing up, and I'm sorry. But great guy to talk to. You guys ever want to BS, or if you want to learn the figure eight rules that they run in order to put your own figure eight show together, reach out to them, get a hold of them. They would love to help push, show you the rules that they run so that you guys can run your own figure eights. He didn't have his brother on tonight. I met his brother when we were down the last time when we were on his podcast. I don't have to have those on now. Great guy too. It was fun discussing with him. Their figure eights and how they do it. I would absolutely love to have a figure eight here, but I'm probably going to have to go down to Missouri and go check out one of their shows one of these times, because that would be an absolute blast to see their figure eight shows, their demos, how they run things. Maybe I'll even pop a camera up. I don't know. Of course, they got to be okay with that, you know. So, but make sure you get over and check them out. He does a podcast. They try to do it every Thursday night, I believe. I can still see you on there. Shake your head if I'm right. Thursday nights. But yeah, go over to his Facebook page. He'll let you know when he's running them, and always good discussions. He brings on drivers, promoters. They talk about a lot of what's going on with Lucky 7, because they have so much going on with their promotion that it's pretty hard to keep up on. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. I'll let you get going if you're still on. I think the last time I checked, there were still 10 people. Oh, there's 7. So everybody's getting ready to head out. But really want to say thank you guys for all the support that you've been given. The drawing will be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I will come on and announce the winners or I'll actually do the live drawings right in front of you. I'm not going to announce the winnings. You guys will know that there is no one-sided, if anything, on this stuff. We will definitely get over and whoever wins is going to win. It's going to be a random deal, and I'll make sure it's all on video for you guys. Thank you for coming on. Dwayne, quit whining about your foot. And remember, guys, it's all about the experience.